Hello, everybody. We've got a show that promises to be at least mildly interesting for your listening and watching enjoyment. I'm your host, Jared Correia. I'm the CEO of Red Cave Law Firm Consulting. For the Monologue, I'm talking about some of the more important math you need to know as a law firm owner. For our interview, we've got Mathew Kerbis of The Subscription Attorney, and now Practi. In the counter program, it's time for our first ever double feature, in which we have Mathew quizzing me and me quizzing Mathew. And now, more on real important law firm mathematics, but which John Nash or Will Hunting would merely scoff at. Ha! If you remember that old Saturday Night Live sketch in which Chevy Chase's Gerald Ford objects to a presidential debate question on the grounds of, I was told there would be no math, then you know how lawyers feel about mathematics. You may even be a lawyer yourself. Most attorneys went to law school specifically to avoid math. I did as well. However, in a modern law practice, attorneys need to have a grasp of some very specific mathematical operations to better run their business and service their clients. Since we're talking about math here, let's address 1 + 1 + 1 ways in which attorneys need to better understand math to be better lawyers. That's 3 if you're scoring at home or even if you're alone. First, business math. Some math isn't complicated in business. How many children does this decedent have? Usually that's pretty easy to figure out. Some business math is more complicated. How many shares does large company X retain following this merger? And that's when I tap out. All business math requires a scratch pad, even if that scratch pad is an electronic one. AI is maybe not the best place for mathematical calculations, by the way. It's sort of winging it. So, if you're a lawyer dealing with complicated M&A transactions, not only do you need to be able to conceptualize and understand the math problems at hand, you'll also need to be able to display and edit the right numbers, perhaps via a formula-rich Excel spreadsheet. So while it's tempting to offload the understanding of law firm technology to staff and associates, it's dangerous if you don't actually understand what you're doing or what they're doing, especially given the latest technology-based comments to the competency ethics rules and with respect to your existing oversight obligations. So even if you're assigning stuff to people, you have to understand and grasp it yourself, the process. Not only that, but it's important to be sure that you can evince similar knowledge and facility with numbers that your clients do, at least so you can have a conversation. If your startup clients, for example, are slaving away over financial models and calculations, you should be able to at least understand their pain and then reduce it down to something you understand. For estate planning, you need to understand and to explain to your clients the mathematical implications of what they're doing. After all, this isn't just smart substantive practice, it's a sales prop too. Second, data analytics. Lawyers live in the ad hoc, and no, that is not a village outside of Peoria. Essentially, every business decision a law firm makes, for the most part, is based on gut feelings. The problem is, of course, that these gut feelings are not always accurate. Lawyers who rely on data, on the other hand, can make better strategic decisions about the direction of their law practices. And what is data analytics, if not simply covert math? You can look at data and render KPIs across all aspects of your law practice, from intake to disposition. And this is not necessarily even about big data, a term that has sort of fallen off in usage since everyone is now obsessed with AI. It's more about accessing the internal data, the small data, as it were, about your own law practice and leveraging it in a more effective manner, or, at all. Third, budgeting and its relationship to revenue projection. Most law firms operate without a budget or with a dodgy one. That may be inaccurate, missing line items and specificity, or is altogether a dumpster fire. At the same time, law firms have a problem with overhead. They tend to overpay for products and services while under collecting revenue. There is a lawyer tax on software built for lawyers. As you can imagine and may understand intimately, that's a big problem. So understanding and laying out an effective projected law firm budget that you then compare to the actual budget is the first step to cutting costs and becoming more profitable. I mean, think about it. If the first step is knowing how much you need to collect, then you need to know how much you have to pay out to cover that. In that sense, your budget becomes the building block for any future revenue projections that you might need to make. Once you have a fundamental understanding of your overhead, you'll know where your profit line begins. Then you can reverse engineer your products and service offerings to set revenue goals year after year after year and get more accurate over time. Want to make $50,000 this year? Well, if you have a budget of $25,000 and you charge $1,000 per estate plan, then you need to bring in 50 estate plans this year to reach your revenue goals. That's pretty easy math, right? Although maybe do more than 50K. Inflation's kind of on. But like I said, make more than that if you can. Much derided in legal services, math may be the prime number for developing a more lucrative law firm. It's the rule of three, the one from American Pie, obviously. After all that, we've got Mathew Kerbis of Practi up next. Will you subscribe to his theories on law firm value billing? See what I did there? Now, see what we do coming up. Well, I've effectively run out of things to say, which is awkward because this is a podcast, so I'm just going to silently stare into the abyss for the next several hours and contemplate my existence. Never mind. I probably won't like what I find. Anyway, let's go ahead and interview our guest. How about that? That guest is Mathew Kerbis, the founding attorney of Subscription Attorney LLC, and now co-founder and CEO of Practi. Welcome to the show, Curb Dog. How you doing?
Hey, Dear Dog. It's great to be here. And speaking of dogs, remember the hot dog as a sandwich question where you were on my show like 2.5 years ago? Thanks for the pod swap. 2.5 years and a new podcast later. I appreciate it.
That's all it took. We'll have to have you on a second time. Now you're making me feel bad. Let's keep that in mind, though. Hot dog as a sandwich, because I may have more coming up on that. While we're at it, what is your answer to that question? Is a hot dog a sandwich?
Yeah. So folks could go watch one of my 3 45-minute each long compilation videos as answers to that question. I suggest the Law Subscribed YouTube page version so you can see everyone's crazy reactions. But mine is I'm in the firm hot dog is a sandwich category because it's an open-faced sandwich, right? Like an open-faced sandwich is by definition a sandwich. Okay. And yeah, there's not like a layer on top. And yes, if you logically extend that, a pizza is an open-faced sandwich. So yes. You still gave one of the best answers, by the way, which is
I forget what I said.
Hot dog, not a sandwich, but you cut a hot dog in half and put it on between 2 slices of bread. That is a hot dog sandwich. That one always stood out to me.
Well, I wanted to ask you another like non-related question before we start. I may have done this before. I can't even remember, but I'm always intrigued by the Mathew with 1 T. What is that all about? What happened to the other T?
Yeah. And it took my fraternity brothers in college until senior year before they realized they could nickname me Math, right? Because like,
oh, that's great. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, I know. Like I said, it took them all college. But so, parents, mothers especially want their kids to be special. They want them to be different. I think I was born in 1988 and like Matthew Broderick was all the rage. And my mom loved the name Matthew and my dad agreed. But she wanted me to be different and special, right? And so she named me Matthew with 1 T. So thanks, Mom. I feel so special. I have to correct everybody how to spell my name my whole life. I feel so special.
That's funny.
And to make it even more complicated, Jared, is when you're in first grade and people start calling you Matt and you're like, oh, I guess I'm Matt now. And I don't know how to spell that because I like barely know how to spell and read. I asked the teacher, hey, how do you spell Matt? And she spells it M-A-T-T. And so I add a T for Matt.
Oh, man.
So just to make it confusing. Yeah, for people.
And then your parents are like, what the fuck is this? You're supposed to be special.
and yet, true to Chris Pratt as Star-Lord form, I started calling myself the subscription attorney, and at least I have a brand that goes beyond the name. So there you go.
Thank God for that. Shout out to your mom, by the way, if she listens to this.
Shout out to my mom. My dad does listen to he has a Google alert, I think, set up. So he'll
shout out to your dad.
Right.
Great. Shout out to the entire Kerbis family. Now that you're a tech founder, which we'll get into more in a second, I do a lot of interviews with tech founders because I think it's interesting that like it's not easy like starting a software company and building it. But before we get to that, I kind of want to know, like, because I don't think I've asked you this before, like, how did you get into the legal field in the first place? Like, what did you do before? What made you decide you wanted to go to law school? So this is your opportunity to give me your origin story.
Yeah. So, and shout out to Ben Chiraboga, That Lawyer Life or This Legal Life or something. He does these, right? Like he does these stories, and I'm coming up on an episode out there. But
Stole it from me. No,
but I'll give you something I didn't give him, Jared. You get an exclusive.
Okay. Oh yes.
All right. Junior year of high school, I'm taking like some like cool hybrid class that like I can't even remember what it's called, but it was real chill, and we got to do like mock trials. And I was just like killing it as defense counsel, like doing a really good job. Turns out I became defense counsel in a couple of different ways as a litigator early in my career. But that sort of, I think, really planted the seed for me and my best friend.
Wait, how weird was this? Was this like inorganic chemistry? They're rolling out like a mock trial, and you're like, what's going on here?
No, it was like something like social studies or historical something or other. Like
that
it
makes
was like
some sense. Okay.
It was like a double class with 2 teachers. It was like a cool, different type of like scholastic environment.
Yes. Okay, go on.
Yeah, so my best friend was actually in that class, but he was president of law club junior and senior year of high school. And so he was like, hey, there's free food. You should tag along with me to law club. And I was like, okay, that sounds like a good idea. So I went to college, and and that was like in my subconscious, that experience, right? And in college, I didn't know what I wanted to study. I was an undecided major. I would have loved to major in philosophy, but I didn't think you'd get a job with that. That was before content creator was a job, Jared, okay? And I became one of those anyway, all right?
It's funny. I feel like everybody's got content creator in their job description somewhere.
and philosophy really helps with that, right?
It does.
Like,
it totally does. Yeah.
And it helps you use this, these augmented intelligence tools, shall we say, of the modern era, because you think about things a little bit at a deeper level, and it really helps you get better results. So then
anything that has critical thinking involved, I am very down with in the current environment.
100%. So I was taking a philosophy class because I really wanted to major in it. And the instructor who was getting his PhD in philosophy, I'll never forget, his name was Gwaki Han.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, it was great.
That's how I check into hotels.
Yeah, but he said, hey, if you like symbolic logic, you can major in philosophy where you require to study more logic. And by the way, that counts as a math class. Yeah. And then you can go to law. You could take the LSAT, do well, go to law school. I was like, gosh, I could make money and major in philosophy. Who would have thought? And like, I didn't think about the student loan debt, right? I didn't think about it was 2007 at the time. So 2008 was right around the corner, right?
Yeah.
Right. But
things
so long
are
story,
going great.
Yeah. Back in 2007. So I mean, long story short, I ended up working at other firms and billing by the hour and absolutely hating my life, and so I thought there had to be another way. Yeah.
Oh, perfect segue. You've clearly done this before. So then you go out and you find your subscription-based law firm. Talk to me about that decision and why you came to it.
Yeah, I was. I distinctly remember a moment where I was getting off the phone with my dad, working. I think I might have been in my 4th or 5th year of practice.
Yeah.
And I would start my own firm 8 years after being in practice. And I was working at a billable hour insurance defense firm. And I was like, okay, that was point 3, talking to my dad. I'm like, what the heck am I doing? Like, what has my life become?
Fucked up way to think about your life, yeah.
Right. And like, I've come a long way since then. And like nowadays, and somebody was just giving me crap for this at ABA Tech Show, but I was like, if I actually had to assign a dollar value to my time that I spend with my family, $1 million an hour, right? Like you can't put a price on that.
That's beautiful. Can I ask you, how was Tech Show?
I got a little sick because that's going to happen, right? But look, pros and cons, I would say I had perhaps my least most attended CLE that I gave there because it was lawyering in the G-verse, all about Google Workspace at a conference where most lawyers are using Microsoft.
That was your first mistake.
Well, here, shout out to the committee and the team over there, because I will say that I missed applications for being a speaker this year, and I just reached out to them and said, hey, like, I'm available to talk about whatever you want. I'll be there anyway.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so they were like, oh, we need somebody who is actually deep in Google Workspace and using Gemini. And I'm all about Notebook LM.
I
And
love
I've done
Notebook LM. Yes.
some really cool stuff with that we might be able to talk about, and it was related to Practi. But like they were like, yeah, like we need somebody to talk about this if you're willing to do it. I was like, sure. Like I already knew going into it, I was only going to get like 20 or 30 people there. And the new
It's
setup,
tough.
you could have like 100 people. So I did. I had like 30
Yeah.
people in the room, and that's not bad. Like, but I've had
Not
like
bad.
I've had like 300 to 400 people, when I'm giving a CLE before on like subscriptions or AI or legal tech or
Yeah.
something, right?
Now, are you like an all-in workspace person, or do you use? Because I have both. I have Microsoft and Google, and I think a lot of attorneys find it hard not to get by without Word.
I buy the like the one-time license whenever they update it for Mac for the Microsoft for Business. So I'm not
interesting.
using like
Yeah.
the most up-to-date version, and I've gone back
Okay.
and forth of should I just pay like the $6 or $12 a month or whatever it is, just so I could have it more easily accessible on the go on like my iPad or like in the
Yeah.
cloud or in my browser. Like that would be
Yep.
nice.
Yep.
So I've thought about that because it's kind of like you have to at least be able to open Docs in Word before I could
Yes.
convert them to Google Docs. Like
Yes.
but Google Workspace has come a really long way with PDFs and with Word docs just right inside of Google Workspace if you're signed into it on a Chrome account. That like inside of Chrome browser, I should say.
Yeah.
And so like I'm even thinking like, gosh, if it wasn't for OCRing and like doing some things I do in Adobe, like that I do that maybe other law firms don't do, you don't even need like an Adobe or PDF editor anymore because you got e-signature, you got a bunch of other PDF things that you could do right
Yep.
inside of your Google Workspace account inside of a Chrome browser. So like it's gotten really, really good. Now
Google
I like
Workspace is a great product. Yeah.
and I prefer Calendly, and one of the first subscriptions that we got when we started Practi was a Calendly subscription, so we could have feature-rich scheduling, even though we're in Google Workspace. But if you're just getting
Right.
started as a law firm owner, like Google Workspace has kind of everything you need. Like it's got Google Appointments, it's like not as good,
Yep.
but it's their version of Calendly, right?
Yep. All right. So you practice. You're a Google user, so you do subscriptions. So already lawyers are probably ostracizing you. And then after that, you're like, let me start a software company. Why would you do that to yourself?
So when I gave my first CLE at ABA Tech Show about subscriptions like over 4 years ago,
Yeah.
lawyers came up to me afterwards, Jared, and like I had just barely had my firm for a year doing subscriptions, and they were like, we will pay you money to teach us how to do this thing. And I
Save
said,
us.
I did not realize that was an option, right? And to be fair, like ChatGPT had like just come out. It was like February of 23, right? So like even back then,
yeah.
like it was a packed
Ground
room
zero.
on alternative fees and subscription billing, right? So like lawyers were all about learning how to do this. And so not long after that, I actually got my first sponsors for my podcast, Law Subscribed, where I was like interviewing lawyers and talking about it. Because I started the podcast before I had my own firm because I just was like interviewing lawyers about how do I do this alternative billing thing? And they were being super generous with their time. I was like, hey, can I record this? Right? And like, can I publish it? And back then I was using GarageBand to edit it. And now I use Descript, and it's like a totally different ballgame in the production space, man. So then like I started this thing called Subscription Seminar, and it's still out there, but it was like one-on-one coaching for lawyers and how to do it.
Yeah.
And like
So
practicing
you're
law.
running the firm, and then
Mhm.
you're also consulting with other lawyers about how to start similar firms.
Yeah. And frankly, I could have made like an exclusive business of it and probably done pretty well. I ended up with a pretty big wait list because I'm still practicing law. I've got the podcast,
Right.
which like actually doesn't take as much time as it used to. But then I'm like doing this one-on-one coaching and really like looking back like over like 4 years, I only had a handful of clients doing it because it's a lot of time and effort to get somebody to have a subscription-based law firm. So last summer at Legal Geek in Chicago, there was a venture arm of a very large legal tech company there that asked to have a meeting with me and said, hey, we love what you're doing with subscriptions. Can you productize that? Because we love the idea of Shopify for SMB firms. And I was like, oh, it's
That's
funny you
really
should mention
interesting.
that. Yeah, it's
So
funny you should
had you
mention
been
that. 'Cause
thinking about it earlier?
So I have been thinking about like, hey, how do I do instead of one-to-one, one-to-many? And so when they reached out to me, I was like, actually, I do have some ideas. Could I show you like a very early deck? And they were like, yeah, we like this. The logo sucks. I used Gemini to make the logo. They were like, the logo sucks, but it's a really good idea. Hey, by the way, we only invest in Series A, so come let us know after you've
great.
proven that it could work.
Great.
So good luck.
I'm a logo guy too, though, honestly. Like, a logo means a lot. So you've changed it since then?
We've changed the logo.
Okay.
Yes. Oh yeah, my gosh, yes. Like right away.
Now I'm curious about what was the first logo? Was it really terrible? Or were you like,
Uh,
fuck you guys, this is great?
so I definitely liked it, but I was not attached to it. And even now we just have been playing around with like an inverse colors. Like
Yeah.
it's like pink and purple and Practi because I love alliterations. But now we have just a white version of it that we're starting to use in some marketing stuff. And I actually really love the white version of it. And so we
That's
might
awesome.
just be going white. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I'm very into logos. Anyway, go ahead, continue your story. So you meet with these guys. They're like, actually, we're not going to look at you for several years, but you do you.
Yeah, yeah. And what really got the gears turning is like I've been teaching all these CLEs, right? And I was thinking about it and I'm vibing with AI. And so it was like early in February, I was trying to vibe code something, Jared, like in February of last year.
Yes, one
So like
does.
a whole year ago. And
Our
it was
first
crap.
AI mention.
It was terrible, right? And like I tried different tools and I got okay results with V0. Back then it was .dev, now it's .app. But I was like, okay, I
Yeah.
need a technical co-founder. So I joined Y Combinator co-founder matching. It's like
Right.
Tinder
This
for
is a super
startup
interesting
founders.
story. I was hoping you would
Yeah,
bring this up. Yeah.
yeah. And so so I interviewed like 6 technologists through the platform. And I talked to like 2 or 3 others just so I knew through like other connections that I had just being in legal tech and stuff. And at one point I was like, ooh, if I have all lawyers on the cap table, we could take a percentage of fees and we could do what Overture does at overture.law. And now, of course,
Right.
they've changed their business model. They're just doing a
Yeah.
membership model now. But
Yeah.
back then they were like, wait, we're going to incorporate as a law firm and we could take a percentage of fees. So I thought about doing that. But then Shomari, my technical co-founder, former Google software developer, he actually reached out to me on Y Combinator co-founder matching. And my profile is like, I have deep domain expertise. I've got an existing audience. I have a ton of ideas. I just
Yeah.
don't have anything technical. And he's like, I'm highly, highly, highly technical. And I'm just looking for somebody with a good idea. And I was like, okay, this is going to work. We're both in Chicago. And we
Oh,
just
that's
got together
amazing.
for a 3-hour jam session using Cursor and AI. He vibe coded in 3 hours a proof of concept that got us into a pre-accelerator program. We were off to the races.
How was the accelerator program?
It was great. We went through Founder University, which is Jason Calacanis's, This Week in Startups guy. His pre-accelerator. He has Launch, which is his accelerator program. That's for startups that are further along their journey.
Yeah.
The pre-accelerators for companies that haven't even incorporated yet. But after we got into the program, we quickly incorporated. Shout out to Stripe Atlas. Helped us do that for $500, which was awesome.
Yeah, that's great.
Delaware C Corp 83B election. I mean, as like a startup founder who you haven't raised any money yet, it's like that's a great deal in startup tech. And then the program was great. I mean, it taught us everything we needed to know. And I really like their business model because, Jared, there's this thing I'm really interested in pricing. I don't know if you knew that, but I really like pricing.
Are you? Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And
This is news to me, but go ahead.
So here's how they do it. They charge you $500 to go through the pre-accelerator program. But if you show up to 11 out of 12 things, they refund your money. 11 out of 12 of these required
Oh, that's cool.
meetings.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. So we've talked about like you founding a software company, but what does it do? Let's talk about the product.
Yeah, sort of living up to that dream of what this legal tech venture firm said to me is Shopify for solo and small law firms, right? We help law firms have an
So
e-commerce.
if people don't
Yeah.
know, what is Shopify? I don't think everybody maybe knows what Shopify is.
Yeah, if you've ever bought something online or even from like a brick and mortar store, but you could go to their website and buy something and there's a purple shop button that you check out with. It lets any sort of brick and mortar or e-commerce store give them a storefront and a way to purchase and check out e-commerce services or products.
Thank you.
And so I even met an attorney at MaxLawCon who was trying to hack Shopify to like offer subscription and flat fees for his firm, but he was running into the fee
That's
splitting
funny.
problem, right? Because like for certain things, they'll take a percentage and you just can't do that with law firms. And so we help law firms get subscription revenue really easily and also offer fixed fees to existing subscribers. And yes, you could charge as low as $1 a month or even do $0 a month if you want freemium. And we have one lawyer on the platform charging $1 a month. And then they're primarily a fixed fee shop firm. But
Interesting.
but it lets you have that e-commerce like experience and offer that to your clients that no other platform really provides you. And what we definitely are the only tool in the market that you can do, at least today, is we put the client in the driver's seat. So the client in their dashboard, they could choose to buy more legal services from you. and they could just go and check out in a cart, just like any other e-commerce experience. And I had 2 clients do it over the weekend. Subscribe and check out in a cart for the one-off product they want using Practi.
I can tell you, it's a great feeling when you get paid and you're just like sitting there watching a basketball game on TV or something.
You've never or at ABA Tech Show or
right,
whatever,
exactly.
right? Or at a kid's birthday party.
Right. I think it's sort of like, it's undercovered, I think, how hard it is to pay law firms. And I'm not trying to trash law firms. I don't think it's just law firms, like service businesses in general. Like my accountant. Like, it's hard for me to pay my accountant. She's great. She's just an older lady. And I'm like, can I make an electronic payment? And she's like, no. And I got to haul my ass over there and bring a check. Like, nobody wants to do that. So the convenience factor sounds like it's really high, which is great. So I can see why that's appealing for lawyers.
And then the client could also change their own subscription level, right? And so like if I'm helping small business owner,
cool.
And they're like, we have 3 3 contract renewals coming up next month, and we're on this, the 7 contract plan, but we've only got 3. Well, hey, instead of just unsubscribing or not using my lawyer or paying, I could go in and change from the platinum package to the bronze package, right? And so that way the law firm doesn't lose a client, and the client doesn't feel like they're being taken advantage of by the firm. Right. And so letting the client be in the driver's seat with stuff like that, I think is really important.
Do you think lawyers who would want to do subscriptions are not doing it because of like trying to figure out the technical complexity, because of trying to figure out how to build a subscription when they've been billing hourly forever? Like, what do you think the biggest barriers are to attorneys who are thinking about doing this but don't?
Yes, it's a combination of, or it's one or the other of like mindset, and then practicality of like, okay, how do I go and do the thing, right? And so like my podcast, that's going to help you get in the mindset, right? I still get lawyers on LinkedIn who message me and say, I just binged all 200 of your episodes, right?
Yeah. Yes.
And like, thank you so much, because now I know this is the way.
People love to binge. It's amazing.
Yeah, and now I'm like, hey, just go into Notebook LM and like put in your favorite episodes and create a podcast of a few of my podcasts, so you don't have to listen to all of them. Right?
The audio overview feature in Google Notebook LM is amazing.
And I built this tool at notebook.practi.ai, which redirects to my notebook that has 269 sources, most of them podcast episodes, where either I've interviewed someone or I've been a guest, my CLE materials, all that stuff, where you could ask all of your subscription questions and get answers only based on my content. And I really think that's also the future of the practice of law as well, is curated content with taste.
Jesus. Okay. Should you want to spin that out a little bit? Like, that's an interesting idea. Because I'm over it. You're like, people are being productive. They're binging your podcast, trying to learn how to do subscriptions. I'm over here watching 2 seasons of Beast Games this weekend. I'm pretty embarrassed at this point. So why don't you talk a little bit about the future of law?
Because this has been a popular product, and right now it is totally free. You just go to notebook.practi.ai. You need to have it like signed into your Gmail account or Google Workspace to use it, because it does have a memory of you talking to this to these sources, which you could delete. And we had to create a consumer version. So I had to create a Gmail account and pay $20 a month, but a Practi Gmail account, because that way I could share it. So I don't actually see the interactions, Jared. That's one of the downsides of this tool. I could just see activity. And we're getting a lot of activity because we've been sharing this. And it's free. Now, in the future, we're going to make it so you have to request access, and we're going to verify against a spreadsheet of Practi users who have at least they've signed up for a free Practi account. So, but at the time this publishes, maybe that's the case. But either way, you'd still get access for free. You just have to have a Practi account. We're going to gate it in the future. But because it's been so popular, my technical co-founder, Shamari, is building out things on like Google Cloud and trying to leverage the same tools so that Practi users in the future can generate their own shareable notebooks in the same way to their clients, right? And so we're going to hopefully make that a feature of Practi, that could be a subscriber benefit to your clients if you're a Practi user, is your curated, knowledge base.
I mean, if you're listening to this and you're not using notebook software, AI notebook software, they're fucking revelatory. The best thing about AI, in my opinion. And I know Google Notebook LM is my favorite too, but if you're a Microsoft user, like you got Microsoft Copilot notebooks, which I don't think are as good, but they do a decent job also.
I've got law firm clients who are business owners, and they now have an additional $20 a month Google subscription to AI, so they could leverage Notebook, because you put all your internal company documents in there, all your SOPs.
That's fucking great. For $20 a month, it's no brainer. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about this from the other side of the coin, which is I think a lot of lawyers are feeling pressure to not do hourly billing because of AI.
Mhm.
Are you seeing that as well?
Yeah, and I mean, I've been talking about it, for 4 years, right?
Yeah.
It's just the
I know I'm
pressure's
talking to the OG here.
look, pressure's building though, Jared, right? Because
It
if
is.
you're a layperson, like I first of all, I know that you're using AI because for my intake, like I'm getting, how did you hear about this firm? ChatGPT, Perplexity, AI, and yesterday I
Right.
got my first Claude. I heard about you because of Claude,
That's
right?
awesome.
So cheers to podcast or to podcasting and content marketing because I think that's how AI is suggesting me because I'm like doing podcasting like
I
crazy.
think, yeah, I'm getting the same thing. And I think initially it's because of the content marketing stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. And like content marketing done the right way, right?
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
your podcast is irreverent and hilarious and awesome and educational.
We're
So you're
also
not
not two AIs talking to each other.
right. Yeah. Yeah.
Which helps.
As much as I don't mind an audio overview from Notebook LM, but you're right. Yes. It, and so like we know lay people are using AI. And so they're going to put that contract into AI, which by the way, there's no privilege there if they're hiring you. So you better advise them accordingly, right?
I know.
Right, right. So, but before you've advised them that, or like they're anyway, they're thinking, well, why did you build 2 hours for that when Claude did it in 2 minutes, right? And so now we know that the AI's output is not going to be as high quality, maybe as the lawyer's output, right? But the point is that they don't understand why that took 2 hours when they think AI did it fast. But the in-house attorneys who are using AI, they know because they're subject matter experts that,
Right.
hey, AI could do this 10-hour task in 1 hour, right? So
Yeah.
law firms are screwed if they don't adapt, which is why Practi is here, right?
So I want to ask you kind of a twofold question about clients because we haven't really we've started now to talk a little bit about legal consumers. D- Are clients asking you as a practicing attorney about the use of AI? Do they want you to use it? Do you have to convince them to use it? And then how do you have that conversation like you just talked about, which is like, I think one of the potential problems for lawyers with AI is it becomes a slippery slope. Like everybody's like, well, shouldn't it be faster? Shouldn't it be faster? Shouldn't it be faster?
Yeah, and it should be. And like for my clients who are intelligently and strategically using enterprise grade AI with security settings on and all that stuff, like they like who have historical knowledge and what I like to call the curse of knowledge because they've dealt with lawyers for a long time. They're giving
Yeah.
it examples of legal documents when they're drafting up a new document set for a new deal or a new business or a new something, and they're sending it to me. And actually, it's really good. Like in the
Yeah.
last in the last 6 months, the AI has gotten so much better that when somebody who's actually sophisticated and knows what they're doing, even if they're not a lawyer with legal docs, it's like, okay, you and your enterprise version of ChatGPT or Claude got to 95% of the way. And like I use Paxton AI. I mean, there's a lot of legal AI tools out there, but I use Paxton. And like my clients expect me to use AI. In fact, like this one example of a client who's actually really good with AI already, he's like, hey, can you run this through Paxton for me? Right?
If you're a savvy business owner who knows and understands technology, like, and you had a lawyer draft an NDA for you, I'm just playing it out here, devil's advocate. Why would I go back to my lawyer to draft another NDA for me? Like, why wouldn't I just take that NDA and feed it into my own version of AI?
It all comes down to pricing, Jared. If your lawyer's charging you a reasonable monthly price and you're not on a meter, you absolutely will send it to a lawyer in addition to doing that, like my clients currently are, because they know what their monthly or annual legal spend is, right? And they're like, well, I still want that like lawyer brain and judgment, even if they're using legal specific AI tools. Because again, I could download Adobe Photoshop. I don't know what the heck I'm doing with Photoshop, right? Like if I want a good graphic designer, like, and I could do okay in Canva, right? But like I could do much better in Canva, but like I'm still like, if something's high end and we like need to spend a lot of money on it, we will go hire that graphic designer, right? So it depends on the level of threshold of the deal, right? And like how much
Yeah.
is actually at stake here. And then do I want my lawyer to look at it with their law license on the line, right?
Yeah.
And their professional liability insurance, right? With giving advice. And there is value to that. But the thing is like my highest subscription is $2,000 a month. And so for a small business owner, that's less than a full-time minimum wage employee.
Yeah, that's totally reasonable. All right. Last question for you before we get into what promises to be a really fun game segment. Do you find that you need to convince some clients to come in on a subscription model? Because I do think that most legal consumers still understand lawyers to bill on an hourly basis. Or does it kind of sell itself?
Well, you say most, but like, how are you slicing that pie? Because if you look at the current market of existing consumers of legal services that have paid lawyers, you're talking about 23% or fewer of
Right,
those
that's a
who
relatively
can't.
small number. Yeah.
Right. And I think the numbers have come out now. I think maybe it was 500 billion was spent on the U.S. legal market in 2025. So you're looking at a greater than $1 trillion market opportunity of potential. And even if we disagree about who could afford to pay what, okay, cut it in half. You're still talking about a greater than the existing market of people paying for legal
Oh, it's
services,
huge.
right?
Yeah.
It's
So,
huge.
so right to your point, like you're convincing people who would otherwise not use a lawyer, and then that group of people who already would be willing to and have paid for lawyers. So, well said.
Yeah. Yeah. And look, part of our startup land go-to-market strategy, our go-to-market strategy is we're actually not just going to be, because we only make money when lawyers subscribe their second client, is when in this early access phase, we're charging $20 a month after they subscribe their second client, and it'll go up to $100 a month later this year. But
Yeah.
since we only make money when the law firms are actually subscribing clients, we want to help them get more clients. So we have a two-pronged approach or like a two birds, one stone type strategy that's, I think, is going to help this. We're going to be advertising to clients of legal services in the same way that pharmaceutical companies target users of drugs for their doctor. Like, ask your doctor about such and such drug. It's like, hey, are you suffering from unpredictable legal fees? Or, it doesn't have to be that way, right? Find pricing transparency with Practi. Ask your lawyer about Practi, right? So we're going to try to educate the clients of law firms to go in and demand the transparency from those law firms. But then we're also just going to educate the public at large, like, hey, it doesn't have to be opaque pricing with legal services. Like, you could go find lawyers, and we don't have a directory or a marketplace today, but
Yeah.
in the future, it's natural
You
that we
could.
want to help
Yeah.
lawyers, get those clients who are looking for affordably priced or transparently priced legal services. Because look, we have a lawyer we have a consultant actually on our platform that one of their packages is $50K, but in light of what they're doing, it's actually a great deal. So it's not necessarily about affordability, it's about price transparency.
Fair. This is great. That thus ends the formal interview section. Welcome back, everybody. That's right. It's the Counter Program. It's a podcast within a podcast. This is a conversational space where we can address usually unrelated topics that I want to explore at a greater depth with my guests. Expect no rhyme and very little reason. Mathew, as a seasoned veteran of the podcasting world, we're going to do something fun today. First time I've ever done this on the show. We're going to do a double feature. You got trivia for me. I got trivia for you. I don't even know what you're going to ask me about, so let's start with you, and then we'll move on to my segment. It's going to be
all
fun.
right. Well, we're going to do it, and thanks to the magic of perplexity, I actually have this incredible slide deck here.
Oh my God! Look at this.
What I did is I told it basically how, hey, I'm coming on Jared's podcast, and he's irreverent. He asks ridiculous trivia questions. So I want to ask him about the origins of the billable hour and subscription. So help me come up with some questions. Oh, and give it multiple
I'm
choice.
Suck at this.
And it's okay to make up completely factually made up answers, because that's how Jared likes to roll. And so then you'll get a kick out of this, Jared. I said, okay, great. I love these. Make the slide deck. So it made the slide deck, and I'm like, hey, this isn't complete. You only made 12 of all the 30 possible questions. Now there's only 10 questions I have for you. But I was like, hey, no, I need you to go finish the rest of the deck. Try harder this time. And then it made it. So all I did was delete some slides. It did a really good job. So here, let's go. Billable hour trivia. Time to flip the table on Jared. Legal Late Night 2026. Here we go.
Ooh, let's do it.
And just like you, if you know the answer, you could give the answer, or I have multiple choice if you need it. So
who invented? I know the answer to this. I don't know.
Who invented the billable hour?
No, I need multiple choice. Hit me up.
All right. Who invented the billable hour? Was it A, Reginald Herbert Smith, B, Atticus Finch, or C, Lionel Hutz?
Oh, I think you're doing the thing where you go easy on the first one. It's got to be A, right?
It's A. It's Reginald Herbert Smith invented the billable hour.
Don't go too easy on me. Hopefully these.
All right.
Ones
we're having fun here, Jared. I'm not as brutal as you. Let's just put it that way.
I'm an asshole. I know.
All right. So some of these you might actually know the answer to. What was the original
Nope.
purpose of timesheets?
No, I don't know the answer to this.
Was it A, internal management and budgeting, B, deciding who got the corner office, or C, fantasy league trial win standings?
I want it to be C badly. I really want it to be C. My fantasy team is ass this year. I gotta go with A. I gotta go with A.
Yeah, I mean that was the original purpose way back when, internal management and budgeting. And to the lawyers
Interesting.
listening out there, when you are switching from hourly to subscription or value-based billing, it's not about, oh, that task took us 2 hours, that cost us 2 hours. It's like, no, the client is willing to pay 2 hours. How do we
Right.
productize it and automate it and make it take 1 hour, 30 minutes, 10 minutes, automate it, and the client's still willing to pay for value? So see, I also want to educate as we do this, Jared. That's why this might
is
be a little
great.
easier.
This is great. Okay, good.
When did this is a real question. When did hourly billing take over Big Law? Do you need multiple choice?
I think it was the 60s, but let's get the multiple choice going.
All right. So the 40s, the 70s, or the 2000s?
The 70s.
Ding, ding, ding. 1970s. You almost knew this one without the multiple choice. See?
Almost. I was close.
All right. We're halfway there. This is moving fast. What 1975 case killed minimum fee schedules?
I definitely don't know this. I need multiple choice for this one.
All right. This one, I will say, was one of the easier ones with multiple choice, but I didn't feel like updating it. So was it A, Marbury versus Madison, B, Goldfarb versus Virginia State Bar, or C, Brown versus Board of Education?
This is why the AI, like, you're right. Sometimes you gotta get the AI whipped up to put some more effort into it. Like,
Well, I told it to be funny too, because you're funny. So I think that's where it went with this.
it's gonna be Goldfarb versus Virginia, right?
Goldfarb versus Virginia State Bar, right? It was an antitrust case. It was unethical fee setting, right? It was like you couldn't. It was all about the.
It's
the
so
antitrust
interesting
nature of
that
it.
you bring this up because, like, even now, like, bar associations are very reluctant to do any kind of discussion of fees based on this case.
Yeah. So in
This is too
1958,
educational for me. My stuff is going to be completely unrelated. Okay, this is good. Go ahead.
this is good. I want you to give an answer before you see the multiple choice. In 1958, how many billable hours did the ABA suggest you should do?
Are we talking a yearly basis?
Yearly basis, annual hours, 1958.
1958. God, 2,200.
So we don't even have that as an option. So guess again.
I overshot.
You overshot.
I was like, what are people doing? They don't have smartphones. I'm going to say B, 1,700.
All right, it was actually 1,300 back in 1958.
God, what a time to be alive, man. It's amazing.
Technology wasn't what it used to be back then. Just saying.
Imagine that, though. 1958. You're listening to the radio, maybe watching a little bit of early Twilight Zone. Just billing 1,300 hours. Damn. I'm jealous.
Right. Moving from hourly to subscriptions, who pioneered subscriptions in the 17th century? Was it book and periodical publishers, A, B, gym memberships, or C, sport tournaments?
I'm going to have to guess on this one. But it's a 50-50 shot, I think, because I don't believe that there were a lot of gyms happening in the 17th century. I could be wrong. I'm going to say book publishers.
Ding, ding, ding. All right, I'm an easy trivia host. What could I say?
I don't know. Sports stuff would be tough to put subscriptions on, I think, outside of streaming. But anyway, go ahead. I know you got more.
Yeah, so what pre-software as a service subscriptions existed? What was an actual pre-SaaS? Was it milk and magazines, boxes of artisanal quills, or deliveries of fresh parchment?
I only wish it was B, but I think it's A.
It's A.
The Milkman.
The Milkman was one of the OG subscriptions. How about that,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Bring it back, I say. Bring it back. Get me my milk in my glass instead of my plastic.
That'd be great.
Why do in-house counsels push alternative fee agreements? Is it because they enjoy making three-letter acronyms, A? B, they want budget certainty and better incentives, or C, to put timekeepers out of business?
Oh.
Or all of the above?
It's B, but potentially all of the above.
All right, so we know that 1,300 hours was it in 1958. Now it's 2,000 plus hours. So what does that say about our profession? Is it A, expectations are inflated and burnout has skyrocketed. B, lawyers have evolved to no longer require sleep. Or C, time is a flat circle of pre-bills.
Oh, it's got to be C. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Burnout, baby, burnout. We Practi
McConaughey
exists
would
to
have
help.
wanted it to be C.
I actually predict, and we've seen some early users, lawyers leaving big law, getting off that hamster wheel, starting their own alternative fee-based practice.
Yeah, that's cool.
One more real question, kind of, and then one
Okay.
fun one. Who was
All right.
the original subscription king? Was it the milkman and the newspaper publisher, the SaaS founder in a Patagonia vest, or a guy who invented gyms hoping no one should show up?
I was going to say Abe Froman, the sausage king of Chicago, but instead I will say the milkman. See
Yeah,
my Matthew
yeah.
Broderick throwback? You see what I did there?
I love it. I love it. I love it. You're the king. You're the king of podcasting, of late night podcasting, Jared.
Oh, you're too kind.
Who is the modern
Oh.
subscription king?
This one's easy. One Matthew Kerbis with one T.
Hey,
we don't even need a second answer for that
All
one.
right, time's up.
That
Thank
was
you for
fun.
playing, Jared.
All right, my turn. Are you ready?
Yeah. Oh, I am not ready, but we'll see how I do. Let's do it.
Based on your hot dog as a sandwich thing, I created a game called Unknowable, Insatiable Cravings. Things that don't really have an answer, but which I'd like your opinion on.
Okay. All right. Maybe I'm going to do better than I thought I would. Okay, let's go.
Well, there's no wrong answer, so you're guaranteed to get all these right.
Okay.
Is a thumb a finger?
Yes.
Why?
So I have a 5.5-year-old, and when she forgot the name of a hot dog when she was 3, she forgot what it was called. She's like, "Daddy, did you already eat your sandwich?" Right? And so I put it through the lens of a child, and to a child,
Okay, this is great. Yes.
a thumb is a finger. Yes.
Interesting. Okay. I ran this through AI also, and AI told me that there's no real answer, but it ultimately decided that it's the finger plus, anatomically distinct, but socially a member of the finger class. It's interesting. I think this gives some insight into the singularity.
The broad category, the broad finger category. The thumb is part of the broad finger category.
Right. Here's another one that I thought was interesting and controversial. Is cereal soup?
Ooh, this is not one that I've thought of before.
AI.
So
Thank you, Google Gemini.
For me, soup, the intended purpose of soup has to be hot. So if we're talking milk and cereal, no. If you're talking cereal in like the oatmeal cereal sense, yes.
Wither gazpacho. What if cereal is just a cold, grain-based gazpacho?
Again, putting it through the kid's lens, no way, man. My kid is like, "That's not soup, Daddy, that's cereal."
All right, this is good. Okay, I got another similarly controversial one, which stretches the bounds of normal human understanding. Is a Pop-Tart a ravioli? Breakfast pasta? Anyone?
I mean, if it were square, perfectly square, I would lean towards yes. But its rectangular shape puts
Good
it
point.
more in the no category for me. Yeah,
I like that very
cold
much.
ravioli though. If it were square, I'd call it cold ravioli. Yeah.
Is a cold Pop-Tart a ravioli? I don't know.
Well, I don't know.
We've done
do
a
you
lot
actually-
of like gradations here between hot and cold.
Do you spend the time warming up a Pop-Tart? I don't think I've ever done that. I've actually warmed up a Pop-Tart.
I know. I often eat. It was weird. My daughter was having a Pop-Tart the other day, and she put it in a microwave and started eating it with a fork. I'm like, "Are you an alien? What are you doing right now?" I'm like, "It's a toaster strudel, for God's sake." All right, I got a few more for you. Does a straw have one hole or two?
Ooh. Oh,
You were talking about philosophy before,
that's
so let's
good.
get into it.
that's good. That's good. Again, putting this through like the mind of a child, I think they're going to say 2 holes, right?
Yes,
Because
I think so too.
The pipe, right? Like, does a pipe have 2 holes? Yeah, you could enter from either side. I think, yeah.
Topologically, the AI tells me it's one, and it describes a straw as just a very long, skinny donut, which just means that AI needs a little bit more work
Okay,
to be more human.
Does a hula hoop have 1 or 2 holes, right?
I said, yeah. I think natural intelligence says it's 2. Although, if anyone is a math expert out there, feel free to write in and harass me about this.
I go back to Drew Carey on Whose Line Is It Anyway? Everything's made up and the points don't matter, baby. We're just living in AI's world today. So who knows?
It's funny. Like, I had one that you anticipated. Is pizza an open-faced sandwich? You're on the yes train, I think.
Absolutely, yes. Pizza is
Okay.
the most delicious of open-faced sandwiches.
Let me ask you an alternative question as my last question for you, which is similar.
Mm-hmm.
Is a muffin just a bald cupcake?
Hey, is that a bald joke, Jared? Because I'm bald?
It was not.
I don't care. So at Tech Show was Comic-Con, like it was happening at the same time as Tech Show.
Oh yeah, weren't
Chicago.
they doing like AI based superhero shit?
Yeah,
right.
It was all
Yes.
superhero themed stuff, and so
Okay.
my go-to cosplay is Agent 47 from the Hitman games. All I got to do is put on a black suit and a red tie.
I don't even know
I'm
what that
Hitman.
is. Who's that?
Look it up. You'll see there were a couple of movies that weren't very successful that were made from this video game.
Okay.
But no, I would say no, because the nature of the shape of the muffin is as though like the muffin top is the frosting. But a
damn. Wow.
cupcake doesn't really have as much of a muffin top, right? It's just a little bit that then the frosting places over. So I'd say no.
The muffin top is the frosting. Insane. Okay. Do you want to hear what AI said about this? I thought the answer was pretty clever.
Yeah, sure.
A muffin is just a cupcake that lacks the social ambition to wear frosting for breakfast. Which to me, that's the same reason I don't wear pants.
Can you end a podcast better than that?
I think we're done.
Practi.ai, go get your free account at Practi.ai if you're a lawyer listening. And if you're a technologist and you're having trouble selling your AI to law firms because it's reducing their billable hours, we help those law firms be profitable in the age of AI.
Thank you. And don't forget your pants, everybody. Thanks to our guest, Mathew Kerbis. He's the subscription attorney still and the CEO of Practi. To learn more about Mathew and Practi, visit subscriptionattorney.com. That's subscriptionattorney.com or I should say, look at both, Practi.ai. That's Practi, Practi.ai. Now, because I'll always be a 90s kid who still retains a scar on my chin from using a roller racer improperly, it's right there. I'm not sure if you can see it. Hair doesn't grow there, but whose true passion is burning CDs for anyone who would listen. I'm now just doing the modern version of that, which is creating Spotify playlists for every podcast episode that I record, where the songs are tangentially related to an episode topic. Or perhaps not. For this week's playlist, we've got a totally unrelated musical selection, because I just wanted to create the cross-genre covers playlist. This is one of my favorite things, one of the simple joys in life. Think you can't turn a rap song into a bluegrass song or a rock tune into a Zydeco smash? Think again. And it's all brought to you by Lifesavers Gummies Collisions. There are also 2 flavors in one, but they haven't sponsored a goddamn thing. I told the Lifesavers people I was drowning, but they would not lend a hand. It's tragic, really. Join us next time when I'm probably going to spill hot soup on my crotch again.